start working on our middle split. So you're gonna sit with the bottoms of your feet together, sit up as tall as you can, and kind of reach yourself forward, either with the chin going forward to hit a flat back first. Go ahead, if you wanna hit your, go down, yeah, perfect. Kind of just stretch, kind of loosen up before you start really opening up those hip flexors. You wanna go over to the right side, being sure to press the opposite side firmly to the ground, and then back to the center. And then again over to the left. And you're gonna wanna hold this for a couple of counts of 8 in each position. Back to the center, please. Perfect. Now you're gonna wanna sit right up really super tall, really engaging those back muscles, go into the pike position. And stretch as far forward as you can. Abby has a great pike, she's been working really hard to get that. And then you can flex your feet, get a nice hamstring calf stretch going, really making sure you're squeezing your knees up through those thighs to really stretch behind the kneecap. All right, perfect. If you want to open your legs to second position, perfect. Sit up nice and tall, making sure you're not curving the bottom part of your spine, as tall as you can. Reach forward to the center. Really making sure you're rotating your feet out, getting your knees and toes up to the ceiling, really working the turnout in your hips. Remember, a turnout comes from your hip, doesn't come from your knee or your foot. And if you want to sit up super tall abs, arms in second position, perfect. And go all the way over to the right side. Keep working through your whole foot, perfect. Over to your lateral stretch, onto the right, so stretching across your body, perfect. Keeping that nice strong line, and over to the center. And then back up to second. And then over to the left. And then up to your left side lateral. Really stretching through. And back to the center. Perfect. So now that Abby's stretched and her parallel second, I'm gonna have her go down into a right leg forward lunge. We're gonna do this on both sides. For the sake of the video, we'll just do it on one side for you. I'm just gonna make sure her back leg is nice and strong and straight, really pulling up her kneecap into her thigh. And of course, in your front leg, making sure your knees are right over your toes. Never too far behind, never forward. You're gonna overstretch some of those ligaments in your knees. Just gonna hold this stretch for a couple counts of 8, turning out her front foot. Yep, going onto her elbows, and almost pushing open this hip flexor here as much as you possibly can to really feel a stretch in that muscle. Okay, go back up to your lunge, please. And of course, you're gonna do everything on both sides. Okay, so if you wanna go into a center lunge for me. Perfect. So you wanna make sure, same thing, you don't wanna roll onto the inside of the foot, pressing all your toes on the ground, sorry girl. Really pushing yourself through. If you wanna lean, reach forward as far as you can. Same thing, really, whoopsies. Same thing, really opening up this hip flexor here. And of course, always being aware of our nice, strong, pointed feet from ankle to big toe. So now that we've done our lunges, we've stretched our hamstrings, we're kind of really getting ready to work onto some more opening up our hip flexors exercises. So Abs is gonna go into a deep second grand plie, yeah. Making sure, same thing, her tailbone is, whoopsies, tucked nice and deep down into the floor, elongating her chest, shoulders down. And she's gonna rock her hips back and forth, pushing her hips back behind her. So really opening up her hip flexors. You can do that a couple times, rocking yourself back and forth. If you're not feeling anything, always really be sure to tuck your tailbone underneath you and down to the ground. Perfect. Okay, so now Abby's gonna go into her right leg forward split. Perfect. Really pointing our foot, stretching through our back, really pushing this open hip forward so we get a nice square level hip alignment. She's gonna port a bra forward and port a bra back. Perfect. Some of our dancers are really working on lower back flexibility for some of their acrobatic tricks and skills, excuse me. So one of our next flexibility Fridays are gonna be some lower back flexibility as well as some hamstring stretches. So you're gonna do this a couple times, port a bra forward. You always wanna sit in your splits for a couple minutes every day just to keep that flexibility and really stretching through your legs. Sit nice and tall for me, Abs. Okay, you're gonna bend this front leg in. Keep your back leg. This is gonna help you really push into a center square split and lay your chest forward. Everything we're doing is really opening up those muscles and making them as long and lean as we possibly can. Hands are nice and tall. Thank you. And if you wanna switch it to your left leg forward split. Really pushing this up to a nice square split, quarter breath forward. And all these exercises apply to so many things, working your arabesque, working your extensions, your tilts, everything. So all of these, whatever you're struggling with, they're so good to just work on at home when you're doing your homework or you're watching TV. Flexibility is kind of just like anything. If you want to keep it and regain it, you want to keep doing it every single day. And to the back, perfect. And then bend your front foot, square out your hips, and quarter breath forward. Stretch your arms, excellent. All right, so now we're really gonna work on to getting some stretches that are gonna help us get our middle split. So you're gonna sit in a nice, strong, open second, of course, always growing through your back. In any position, you always wanna tuck that tailbone, making sure you're not getting that sway in your back. All right, so if you wanna go up into your half swim, or your middle split, perfect. This is a position you wanna hold almost 3 minutes, at least every time. So you can do it 3 minutes a day, or in the morning, or at night. You just need to hold it for a long period of time to really relax and elongate those muscles. So you're gonna hold it for about 3 minutes. Perfect, make sure you're breathing. Once you've held your position for about 3 minutes, you're gonna swing yourself all the way forward onto your belly, stretching your legs right behind. She knows exactly what we're ready to do. And she's gonna go into a frog position. Making sure you're really lifting your baby toes up to the ceiling so that you're sure you're gonna not be sickling your feet and you're really stretching those feet muscles. Same thing, tucking our tailbone down to the ground and making sure our hips are nice and flat. Our end goal is to get our feet flat on the ground with our baby toes lifted up to the ceiling. Okay, so now that we're in our frog position, we've already held our straddle for a few seconds. I'm gonna go into what we call the dead frog position. But they're going in there, same thing, really just basically going into a middle split with our legs bent behind us. You can really open up those hip flexors, and if you already have a great straddle, you often feel a flex in your hip flexors that you haven't felt before. Making sure, same thing, you're sitting up really tall, pulling in your belly and tucking your tailbone down to the ground. And you're gonna wanna hold this again, about a minute, 30 seconds to a minute. Everything, the longer you hold it and the more frequent you do it, the better. From this position, Abby, go right back into your middle split. Right? And then again, you're gonna wanna hold it for about another 3 minutes. And she's gonna put her hands behind her and push herself as flat up against the wall as she possibly can, making sure that she's really tucking her tailbone so we're not getting that S in her back. And then eventually, if you keep pushing yourself into the wall and you know you're flat up against it, you've achieved, 180-degree line, and you know you'll be able to sit there and your jumps in second, your turns in second, everything's gonna come a little bit easier. So really push yourself into that wall. If you wanna lay on your belly now, second stretch, and you're gonna wanna back yourself up into your split in the wall. Same thing, really working to turn out our legs and stretch our knees as long and strong as we can. And then for our last stretch, which is actually probably one of our favorites here at Showcase, you're gonna lay flat on your back, your feet up against the wall at a 90-degree angle. And you're gonna open your legs into second position and just kind of let them hang. Gravity is your friend. And then you're gonna flex and fondue both of your feet, really working your turnout, pushing your knees down to the floor. And point and stretch. And every time you wanna think about pushing those legs closer and closer to the floor. Flex and fondue. You can use your hands, give you some resistance. Of course, you know that sometimes you might feel some resistance or some tension, and that's a good thing. You know that your muscles are working. If it becomes something where you're pushing it and it's painful or agonizing to stay in that position, of course you want to speak to your dance teacher, or you want to remove that position because we want to grow our muscles to be strong and lean and not injure them in any way.